Well, it looks like we've got arrest in the Robert Brooks case. People, this is big. This is big news. All right, this is something I had to get out, and I had to talk about this. If you've been following my channel, if you understand, where I've put my importance or my emphasis on, my focus on, it's been on Robert Brooks and the fact that there were no arrests when these 13 or so correction officers decided to beat a man to death, an inmate, in custody in New York, in a prison, the Marcy prison outside of Utica, New York. So we've got arrest, and we're going to talk about it on Time to Talk podcast. I am quite excited about this. Now, if you know, and again, you've been watching the show, you know that I've talked about this. I've talked about why it seems to be not well, it's obviously not going to be a former mainstream media thing they're gonna keep talking about. But I've been sort of just disappointed in the lack of commentary, the lack of attention given by my fellow people in media, fellow people in alternative media, say on YouTube here, on X, different people that are, have larger platforms and much bigger audiences and bigger voices, have more experience in years than I do in this space. And they haven't really addressed anything. So I have been rallying on and suggesting that there's, where are the arrests? What is going on? If you don't know, the Robert Brooks situation, which you should. It was back in December. I think the actual brutal beating by these animals took place December 9th or 10th is when he was dead, when he was, again, beaten to death violently, just barbarically. And then Letitia James actually released body cam footage of all that sometime around Christmas, I believe, is when that came out. It might have been the 27th or maybe a little before. But that's when we all found out about it and we all seen it. So it's been, maybe a month, and nothing has happened. There were officers that were suspended. One of them resigned, and, that happened, but still zero arrest, as they apparently are still investigating. They're investigating. They're trying to figure out. So that's Robert Brooks. That's the man, the inmate who was savagely beaten by a bunch of CEOs. So let's get to the news. First, before we do that, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you've not subscribed, hit the notification thing, little thumb, whatever that thing is, a little bell, so you know when I put up new content. That's always a good thing. We're growing the channel, and I appreciate the people who've already subscribed, the people who leave comments, and the people who stick with my channel. I appreciate you. Let's get into the arrest. So, as I said, we've got some arrest. 4 arrest. But guess what? None of the people have been arrested that actually murdered, barbarically, savagely murdered a black man in custody, in cuffs, humiliated, and beat this guy to death. Beat his neck, his groin, his everything. Just kicked him. Just none of these people have been arrested. Guess who's been arrested? 4 of the protesters at a rally in New York were arrested at the Atlantic Avenue train station in my beloved Brooklyn for theft of services when it appeared, allegedly, appearing to jump the turnstile. So somehow, brothers and sisters, there was a rally in Brooklyn, downtown, and 4 of the people, part of the protest, it must have jumped the turnstile, or it appeared, because the way it's reported, it says appearing to jump the turnstile. They were arrested. So, did they not? But this is big news, right? We arrested 4 protesters, but the 13 or so animals who beat a man to death, which is why these people are protesting, they haven't been arrested yet. Mind you, let's just keep it real. It's not as if there's some serious investigation going on where we need to figure out what happened before we, prematurely, we don't want to arrest these guys. It was caught on video camera. There's no question. It was on body cam. There's no question what happened. They brutally beat a man to death. The forensic report came out, the autopsy came out, and he was beaten to death. Period. Arrest these men. If you want to come up with a defense for them, and we want to somehow come up with a way of justifying beating a man to death who's in cuffs, and they want to come up with some plea bargains or whatever they want to do, however they want to work it out, yeah, that's what a trial is for. But at this particular point, these men are guilty for murdering a man on camera. It doesn't get more black and white than that. Well, it is black and white, isn't it, right? It's a bunch of white people beat a black man to death, and no one seems to care. Interesting. But we got 4 people arrested who are protesting. Unbelievable. Let's go into the names, though. I want to go into the names because I actually have the names of the people. They've been released, these names. Okay. DOCCS released names of those suspended in the Robert Brooks case. So they've been suspended. New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision has released the names of those allegedly, how was that allegedly involved in the fatal beating of Robert Brooks at Marcy Correctional Facility. 14 people have been suspended without pay or have resigned. I want to go back to this. Has released the names of those allegedly involved in the fatal beating of Robert Brooks. Allegedly? How is it alleged? When you have a camera and you're watching something happen on camera, is that alleged or is that's what happened? Alleged would be, we have some camera footage. We really can't tell what's going on. It looks like something may have happened, but we can't tell. And allegedly, we believe that this is what happened. That would be allegedly, right? Because maybe you've got one poorly positioned camera. Let's just say it wasn't the body cams. Let's say the actual prison facility had its own internal, which I'm sure they do, obviously, right? Security cams. And let's just say for whatever reason, one cam was working, the others were inoperable or something happened technically. You have one camera and you get one view. So it's not possible to discern all of the events that took place on a particular time of that recording, right? You'd have to kind of figure it out. In which case, this type of reporting, this type of language would make sense. Allegedly. If you didn't know, but you had witnesses and maybe a couple of people said something and they said blah, it would be alleged. It would be alleged that you beat a man to death, that you stepped on his groin, broke his neck, his back, and all sorts of stuff like what these animals did. It would be alleged. This is not alleged. Right now, I'm not allegedly talking about Robert Brooks. I'm on camera discussing Robert Brooks. It's nothing alleged about it. Let me know in the comments below if you think this is just it's a little ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. All right, let's get to, speaking of animals, let's get to the names of these guys. So we got, and I want these people called out. I want to somehow figure, I got to put all these names somewhere on something and just call them out. Hopefully, whatever, people will call them out. Sergeant Michael Mashor, Sergeant Glenn Trombley, CO Matthew Gallier, CO Nicholas Anzalone, CO David Kingsley, CO Nicholas Kiefer, CO Robert Kessler, CO Michael Fisher, CO Christopher Walrath, CO Michael Along, CO Shay Schaff, CO David Walters, and Nurse Kyle Danshaw, and CO Anthony Farina, who resigned before suspension and termination. Now, possibly this animal, this loser, did that in attempts to sort of soften the blows that were to come. Maybe he feels as if if I resign, that'll be the end of it. I'll be good. I'll get some pension. I'll be good, and it won't be so bad if I resign. So he took that route. All right, he's the only one who did that. Resigned before suspension or termination. All these other animals, all these other despicable men on here who deserve to lose everything, by the way. They should lose everything. I don't care about their families. I don't care about their kids. I don't care about their wives. I care about nothing. Zero. Let them lose everything. Their pensions, their reputations in their community. Let them lose every dime that they have to the name. Let them go homeless. I don't care. Let their wives divorce them. Let their kids. I could care less if they got young kids, old kids, teen. I could care less. I don't care what the college payments are. I don't care what the private school payments are. I don't care if they got food to eat. They can afford eggs. I could care less. Take it all. Which brings me to the fact that I believe Robert Brooks' family, update on this, they filed a federal lawsuit against the staff at the prison, not just for beating their kid, their family member to death, but also failing to provide aid. So the people who sat by and watched and then didn't do anything, and then when they just left his body limp and they didn't bother to come back and check on him and say, okay, maybe we went too far, guys, let's get him. Like the fact that they did that. So I'm hoping that they get a ton of money. I'd love to see just a windfall of cash. I just love to see a settlement, a judgment against these officers, these animals, barbarians, losers. I would love to see all of them suffer. All of them, first of all, they probably don't have that much money to begin with, but whatever they have, take it. All of it. Sell your homes, move into a smaller place. I don't care what you got to do. I don't care about your wives. I don't care about your kids. I could care less. You brutally beat a man to death on camera and you're walking around. I'm sorry. They should be arrested. They should be arrested. They arrested 4 people for jumping a turnstile in relation to this, protesting it. But the men who brutally beat this man to death are still free. If that doesn't get you up in arms, especially my brothers and sisters, Now, I have said repeatedly that I don't want to focus on the fact that it's a black man that was beaten by white animals. It was. So I don't want to make light of that fact, but I also want humanity. I want my white sisters and brothers, everybody, all race and creeds. I want my Latinos. I want Asians, everybody to look at this and say a man was beaten to death on body cam and the officers haven't been arrested. Not allegedly, factually, they beat a man to death on camera and no one's been arrested except for 4 protesters who possibly jumped a turnstile. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Am I going too far with this whole thing about their family? I could care less about these animals, fam. They're animals. They're animals. Disgusting human beings, and I want them arrested as soon as possible. And I'm really still, I find it despicable that my community, outside of the people protesting in New York and Brooklyn, the online community, the alternative news, people with these podcasts have said nothing. I still call you people out. I find it really sickening that you're not really following up, but you're following up on Drake's every move, on this, that, and the other, all sorts of stuff, but you refuse to talk about a black man who was beat to death in a prison. That's it. Time to Talk podcast. I appreciate you being here. Again, I remind you, subscribe, hit the notification bell on the way out so you know when I put up new content. Please hit that like button. That makes a really big difference. I appreciate the people who are already here, who are paying attention and helping me grow the channel. I will see you on the next Time to Talk podcast. Peace.